France has been facing a wave of riots following the death of 17-year-old in a traffic accident. His death has sparked outrage among Parisians and people around the world. In the Paris suburbs, thousands of people are protesting for justice and demanding for an investigation into the death of 17-year-old. The French government has ordered an official inquiry into the death of the 17-year-old. There has been violence and clashes between protesters and the police. Rioters have been seen throwing stones, bottles, and setting fire to cars and buildings. The government has deployed more police and military forces in the riot-hit areas. There have been reports of injuries, arrests, and damage to public property. The protests have spread beyond Paris to other French cities and towns. The protesters are calling for an end to police brutality, racism, and youth unemployment. French President Macron has condemned the violence and called for social dialogue and reconciliation. He has promised to implement reforms to address the underlying grievances that led to the riots. The protests have prompted a debate on the roles and responsibilities of parents, teachers, and police. The authorities have urged the parents of teenagers to be aware of what their children are doing and where they are going. Human rights activists are calling for an end to police brutality and racial profiling. They are also calling for strict accountability and transparency of the police forces. The French government has also announced new measures to improve access to education and employment for youngsters. Leaders in the Paris suburbs are calling for an end to the violence and a return to peaceful discussion. The 17-year-old's family has appealed to the public to stop the violence and honor his memory through peaceful protests. The French government has also set up a commission to investigate the circumstances of the 17-year-old's death. Religious leaders have called for an end to the violence, and urged people to turn to peaceful methods of protest. Protesters have taken to social media to raise awareness about their cause and to encourage solidarity and understanding. Civil society groups are calling for an end to violence, and for people to think critically about the issues that led to the riots. French authorities have promised to hold the perpetrators accountable for any violence that arises from the protests. International leaders have expressed their fears and concerns about the riots in France.